With only 3 races left in the regular season and the playoffs on the horizon, we are here for the 3rd time this season under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 6 in the 62nd season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. I'm Seth Cole, he's Michael Norman, and Michael, last week, before we went off the air, I said we have not been starved for storylines. With the playoffs approaching, a lot of drivers making themselves claims for playoff positions, but a lot of drivers hovering around just above, just below, or just on that cut line. Here tonight, a lot of drivers might be approaching this as a must-win situation already.
And yes, you're right, absolutely. Getting closer, 3 races left in the season, Seth, and like you said, it's if you haven't got a win, now's crunch time. Now is when you want to really try to go for it. And and it's gonna make things a lot more interesting in the race to the checkered flag.
Another big field tonight, 38 drivers going to take the green flag, and we've had 5 different drivers go to victory lane. Now, of those 5, only 3 of them currently are inside of the top 12 in the point standings, 4 of them inside the top 20 in the point standings. Joe DeSpirito right now 15th in points, so since he's above the 20th in standings cut line, he would be in via his win. John Godfrey, the feel-good story, we saw him winning last week. He moved up 14 spots to 24th. He's only got about 10 points that he has to make up to get up into the top 20 in the standings, but it certainly seems like with the fact that we've had 5 different drivers go to victory lane already, we've got another stacked field here tonight, the bid to go 6 for 6 and have another driver lock themselves into the playoffs via a win seems pretty high this evening.
Yeah, it does, but you never know what's going to happen, Seth. It's a big racetrack. There's a lot of cars out there, and anybody who starts this race could win it.
And as we mentioned, the drivers may be approaching this as a must-win situation. Those 5 that have previously won could fit into that category because they'd love to have an extra 5 bonus points to pad their playoff total when the playoff grid is put together. Lining up on...
must-win situation.
Huh?
You're a must-win situation.
I'm not even in the series, so I have to win, apparently, to get into the playoffs. I don't even think that would get me to the top 20 in points.
You have to be a winner to get into the commentators booth.
I'm a pole sitter. Does that count?
No, it doesn't.
I got that pole last week. I'm hanging that up on my wall like a diploma. Brian Lovell on the random qualifying draw. He's going to start this evening from the pole position. He'll be alongside of Donnie Garrett. Bob Dixon's going to share row number 2 with Wiley Coate. Huh?
He's gonna share.
He's gonna share. Sharing is caring. Grant Wesley, who finished runner-up last week at Talladega, and is your current points leader, he'll be completing the top 5. He'll be alongside of Jeff Crivello. Terry Bombard alongside of Brian Schilling, a former winner on the season. Looks like we got ourselves a little server reset here, or grid reset. So where do we end off at? 8th place. So 9th will be Mark Paglia and Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
I got that pause for you there. He's going to complete your top 10. Graham McDonald, he's a driver that's hovering around that cut line. He's going to roll off 11th alongside of Jessica Shelton, who is 3rd in points coming into tonight. Zach Rogers, you heard him in the booth 2 weeks ago. He's in the field here tonight, making his what, Michael? Debut! In the number 14, he'll be rolling off 13th place alongside of Greg Lovell, who, if I'm not mistaken, is making his 2nd start on the season. Jeremy Jeffries, Joe DeSpirito, a couple of former winners, going to share row number 8. Jeremy, of course, the defending champion of the series. John Godfrey, Bob Seminara, the 711, the 712, going to share row number 9. Godfrey, of course, the defending winner from last week. Hank Middleton, good to see him back in the field here tonight in the number 2. He'll be alongside of Greg Palmer. They'll complete the top 20. Tim Nofsker alongside of Daniel Dell, also making his debut here tonight. They're back in row 11. Daniel has made some starts in the Lightning Truck Series on Wednesday nights, which is his first start in the Talladega Challenge Series. Back in row 12 is where we're going to find Bernie Mobbs. He's alongside of Ulysses Sandoval. Glenn Harris shares row number 13 with Keith Bynum, Denny Carroll, and Chris Emery, another former winner on the season, back in row 14. Complete the top 30, Mike Mangialardi and Josh Metallic. In row 16, Wayne Pribnow. Good to see him back in the field. First start of the season for him. He's alongside of Rodney Sellens, Billy Elliser, and Cy Jones. They'll be back in row number 17. Row 18 will be Chuck McClure and Kelly Causey, starting pretty deep on the grid. And making up the final row for tonight's 38-car starting lineup will be Brian Rawson and Tom Dixon. let's show you the point standings coming into tonight. Top 12 in points when we take the checkered flag here at this very racetrack in
This guy and that guy. There we go. We're all set.
wow, you narrowed that one down for us. But in 2 weeks'
Absolutely.
time, when we take checkered flag here, top 12 in points will be locked into the playoffs, and any subsequent winners that are inside the top 20, but not necessarily inside of the top 12, they will lock themselves in as well. Grant Wesley, Brian Schilling, Jessica Shelton, Chris Emery, Jeremy Jeffries, all up there at the top of the leaderboard, looking good to point their way in. But you look at that 12th in the standings cut line. Bob Seminara currently holding the spot. 2 points behind Danny Carroll, 4 behind Ron Hagelin and Bernie Mobbs, and then just only a total of 6 points ahead of Metallic, 10 points ahead of Graham McDonald. Yeah, Greg Palmer down there, Mark Paglia, Billy Elliser, and keep an eye down there below 20th in the standings. Glenn Harris, John Godfrey down there needs to get up in the top 20 in points, but how about a former champion and Richard Martin down that far? Rodney Sullins is down there. These are drivers we know have won previously in the series, and if they win here tonight or in the next 2 weeks, get up into the top 20 in points, they can make a late season bid for a playoff position.
There goes that blank yellow pace car down pit road, only because that's all I see, because Seth has a different
It's
one.
the rusty little tribute scheme on this side.
Getting ready for the green flag, Seth, through the tri-oval. Get him done. Here we go. Green flag's out. Here we go.
Green flag waves for Brian Lovell. 66 laps.
What that voice was or what that intro was, I have no idea.
Oh, we got a wreck in the back!
Hey, we already got an accident in the back.
Somebody didn't get going.
A big wreck.
I think it was the 28 of Mark Paglia did not get going. It stacked up the inside line. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was John Godfrey, last week's winner.
John Godfrey, he got turned.
Caution is out before they even got to the back straightaway. Field is frozen.
Something happened to the 7-Eleven. I don't know if maybe he lost a gear or something, or if the screen froze. But he was going, and then suddenly he stopped going.
The 28
then he got turned by the 2.
The 28, a couple cars ahead. Check on him too. Mark Paglia looked like he didn't get going, so it might have been the same deal for both of them. Josh Metallic in the 39, Denny Carroll in the 41.
Maybe he lost third gear or something happened. He shifted to third, and it just didn't get up to speed.
And Godfrey's already out.
Wow, having a night ended on lap 1.
Especially in the situation he was in coming into tonight. 24th in points. Needs to get in the top 20 for his victory last week to count towards a playoff spot. With 2 races remaining after this evening, I don't know.
I know what happened. Sorry, I was riding on board and I heard it. He blew third gear. Either that or he hit the rev limiter or something. But when he shifted to third, you just hear it like on the rev limiter, like he either blew it or he missed the shift.
So did he blow the gear or did he blow the engine?
Wait, hold on.
We're going to focus on a couple of...
Confirmed. He lost third gear.
Lost third gear.
Yep, that's what happened. He shifted to third, and he lost third gear, and that's what stacked it up.
And you see right here is we're going to look back at the John Godfrey incident as well, but you see right there, Mark Paglia was also slow when he shifted up to third gear. Doesn't look like he lost it, but maybe he short-shifted, and so he didn't get nearly as good of a start as other drivers in front of him. I thought it was him that had the issue, and then it led to the stack up behind. But now we'll focus on that 7-Eleven as it's Hank Middleton in the tube that gets him from behind, and then they all just kind of collide up. Man, we had some flips too. Godfrey up and over, Metallic up and over. That's Cy Jones on the left, Denny Carroll, Billy Elliser. Well, that explains why the 7-Eleven retired out of the race with the flip there. I thought if it was just he had lost third gear, why wouldn't he continue and just try and salvage what he could? Here's another angle of it. Yeah, I think Godfrey knew he was in trouble. Mike Mangialardi was in that. Wayne Pribnow, Ulysses Sandoval. Rodney Sullins does a nice job of skating his way through. Huh?
Can we get another angle of your face?
I would say, do you want the good side? But there isn't a good side. Here's a look from
Well,
high
Ulysses
above.
Sandoval was also caught in that. I guess he lost more of the limbs he doesn't have to begin with.
You see right there, Godfrey. I think Godfrey knew that he had an issue when he didn't have third gear. Hank Middleton thought he was making a move down to the inside,
Did
followed him down there, and
Nick Gunther is really just brought his bad luck.
we're blaming Nick for that one?
Yep, yeah, losing a gear.
Okay. I thought we only blamed him for drivers having issues in the races that he's in. But if we want to roll it over to a series he's not even in, I'm down. So Brian Lovell leading us under our first caution of the night. John Godfrey out of the race. And again, we're going to bring up the point standings here. You see Godfrey down there, 24th in points, gained 14 spots in the standings after his victory last week. He was only a total of 13 points below 20th in the standings, which was where he needed to be above for his win to count towards the playoff spot. And with this early DNF now, he is more than likely going to find himself, I don't know, with the field that we have here tonight, looking somewhere in the region of 30 to 35 points maybe below that cut line heading into next week. I mean, granted,
we're talking about points, not your age.
Oof, if we were talking about my age, we'd be in the triple digits, man. But I mean, I guess with 2 races remaining, there is still a mathematical chance for him to be able to get back up in the top 30 in points, but it is going to be a taller task than if he had even at least finished tonight's race, I think. So, another storyline that we'll be following up here in the next couple of weeks. Josh Metallic, saw him come down pit road after he was the other car that was flipping, and one would assume that he may end up running the rest of this race with some kind of aero damage, maybe some kind of engine damage. We'll have to wait and see.
Some kind of engine damage. Yeah. Sorry.
I didn't even get that reference.
It's a song reference. Some kind of wonderful.
I don't know that song.
Oh my god, I hate you.
When did that song come out?
When we go to a commercial break, I'll tell you.
Just gonna keep it a secret.
You just let me down in a big disappointment.
But I was going to say, the big thing that's significant about the Josh Metallic, if he does indeed have some type of damage and is going to be off the pace, he was 13th in points coming into tonight, 6 points below that 12th in the standings cut line. So, First Screwed Riders Raceway not taking any prisoners here in the early going, definitely playing its part into the outlook of what the playoffs could be when we come back here in 2 weeks. JT Mayhew in our chat. This is why you lift to shift. So this is the, I believe, 3rd round of the bracket challenge. And we are already down to our 8 remaining drivers on the winner's side of the bracket. There are 16 drivers and 8 matchups on the loser's side of the bracket in round 3 here tonight as well. But we focus mostly, at least here at the beginning to middle portion of the bracket challenge, on the drivers on the winner's side. And tonight, some pretty good matchups. Grant Wesley, the points leader, #1 seed, taking on Terry Bombard. Billy Elliser is facing off against Bob Seminara. Joe DeSpirito against Jessica Shelton. That's ironic because a couple of weeks ago, Shelton helped push DeSpirito to a victory. Now they're going up against each other in the bracket challenge tonight. And then Denny Carroll is taking on Tim Nofsker. So some really good matchups here tonight, looking to advance their way into the Final 4 in round number 4 next week when we go back to Talladega Superspeedway. So Bob Dixon, Josh Metallic have both returned to the racetrack. Both were on pit road for extensive repairs. Dixon has lost a lap, and so too has Metallic. They're the only 2 drivers 1 lap down, so they would be in lucky dog positions should we get another caution and nobody else falls off the lead lap. Lights are out on the pace car. We'll get ready to go back green. Not much changed up at the front since it was a very early yellow. Right after the initial drop of the green flag, Brian Lovell, Donnie Garrett, row 1. Wiley Coate, Grant Wesley, row 2. Jeff Crivello, Terry Bombard, row 3. Then Brian Schilling, Randy Waugh,
Luigi?
Jessica Shelton, and Joe DeSpirito. Going to be scored your top 10 for the upcoming restart.
Seth, let's also forget about the importance of this day. It's not necessarily Memorial Day,
It's the
but
80th
it is
anniversary, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, of the D-Day
D-Day.
invasions.
Yep.
Yes. So shout out to all of our soldiers and those fallen that were helping protect our freedom in World War II.
Yes, indeed.
What do you think, Seth? Should we hold a silent lap on this restart for an honor for those?
And you know what? The 6th day of the
lap
6th
six.
month, lap 6 of 66, and we got an Armed Forces 043 out in front. I like that. Let's do a moment of silence here on this lap as we go back green flag racing at BSR. Donnie Garrett in that middle line with Grant Wesley able to swing around the outside of Brian Lovell as they exit out of turn 2 that previous lap. Lovell had the lane choice there as the leader, chose the inside line and was not able to clear up to the middle when they got off of turn number 2. Now he's falling back to side by side with Jeff Crivello for 4th.
As they made that lap even better, that knowing that was playing Amazing Grace in the background.
Donnie Garrett in the 77, another driver that got to focus on, could make a late run towards a playoff position. 18th in points coming into tonight. 27 points below the cut line. Inside the top 20 in points, so a win would pretty much automatically lock him into a playoff berth. Right behind him, Grant Wesley, who finished runner-up to John Godfrey last week, couldn't hold off the duo of Godfrey and Seminara. Extended his points lead, but still looking for that first checkered flag of season 62.
The lane has the best advantage right now. You could see them just pulling the whole line along the outside right there.
Terry Bombard in the 10. I feel like he's been a sleeper here this season. I don't think we've talked a whole lot about him, and we really should because he's been very consistent. 6th in overall points, only 48 points out of the points lead. Sometimes we say this.
Points a lot in that sentence.
I did. Sometimes in a broadcast, in a super speedway series, not being talked about is actually a good thing because a lot of times you're either being talked about if you're at the front or you're being talked about if you're wrecking. If you're just kind of under the radar, getting top 5s and top 10s every week, all of a sudden everybody sits up and takes notice when you get towards the playoffs, like, where did this guy come from? And I think Terry Bombard fits that here in season 62, but he wants more than that. He'd love to get back to victory lane in that number 10 machine.
Yep, we got pulling for him. He's got a fan in our chat right now. Seth, you see them trying to form that third lane, but it's just really broken up back there.
It's Keith Bynum up on that top side trying to make it happen. I believe that's Greg Lovell, who's in a new paint scheme here tonight in the 880.
Look at this in the back real quick if you want to look. Let's see Sandoval, Denny Carroll kind of just barely holding on to that draft right now.
And remember, both of them were involved in that lap run 1 wreck, so might be.
We do have one that lost the draft, and that is Mike Mangialardi.
Mangialardi was also, if I'm not mistaken, caught up in that wreck, so you'd have to assume he's got some kind of damage that's hindering him.
I wonder if they're maybe just kind of like lagging back a little bit, Seth. You wonder because I mean they can. It looks like they can hold on to the draft, but they're just not really trying to make any moves right now.
It could very well be. I mean, I just noticed there to your point, looked like the 096 drafted up onto the back of the 28, so yeah, they might just be kind of riding for the
I don't
moment.
necessarily know if they could lead the pack, but they can definitely be
Exactly.
a part of one.
And, sometimes, too, you get caught up in a wreck that early on, and you kind of are like, okay, hold on, I'm going to rein this thing in just a little bit. I don't want to tear this thing up anymore and take myself out of it. Kind of a little bit of a wake-up call, maybe, for those drivers, and now they're deciding, you know what, we're going to let everything happen in front of us rather than around us. Donnie Garrett went down to the inside line. Might have seen that run coming from Joe DeSpirito. Now he leaves the outside line open to Grant Wesley. Keep an eye back there on the inside line, the 29. We've got two 29 cars, and I believe they're both sponsored by Hardee's in the field. The 029 is Mike Mangialardi. The 29 is Daniel Dell, who I mentioned is making his first start of the season and first start in this series of his career. He's run a couple of races in the Lightning Truck Series on Wednesday nights, but it'll show up on your ticker as Daniel Dell. His actual full name is Daniel Della Giacomo, which
I'm not saying that full name.
Why not? You're the Italian in the booth.
Yes, but
Della Giacomo.
just call him Pasta al Fazzuli.
But having a good
his nickname is Pasta Fazzuli.
But having a good run here in the early going tonight. He's now 7th on that inside line, unofficially in the 9th position.
Just from one Italian to another. If you're what's the word I'm looking for here? Offended by being called Pasta Fazzuli, then you're not a real Italian.
What if he breaks his pasta?
Then you're not an Italian anymore.
Then you are kicked out of the familia.
It's all about familia. Familia.
Why do I feel like you would be the person to brainstorm a Fast and the Furious Italian version? It's all about familia.
No, all you gotta do is watch Fast and Furious, but switch the audio to Italian.
Oh, there you go. I saw that third line back there starting to try to form up again.
Fly to Italy and just watch Fast and the Furious. If the moon hits your eye like a big NOS engine fly, that's Fast and Furious.
Nailed it. Well, now we see why Donnie Garrett jumped down to that inside line. Grant Wesley got shuffled all the way back to, I believe, 6th.
For those that did not pit under the yellow flag, should be roughly about 10 laps to pit stop, Seth. I just got that from the little birdie that's racing out there with us.
And if I'm not mistaken, if I can quickly eyeball this, I think that's about 20 drivers.
About 23. We should probably see them coming around pit road.
I think there were about 19 or 20 drivers that didn't pit under the yellow. So they would have to pit a little bit sooner than that, I think.
No, the ones who didn't pit are the ones that tend to go.
Right.
So they're the ones that would have to pit by lap 23-ish.
Oh, they can go that far, really?
Yeah.
They saved that much. Okay.
The little birdie in my ear told me that it was she had 10 projected and she did not come down pit road under the caution.
Okay. Wow. So they were able to save a lot there under those caution laps. That'll be something to kind of squirrel away for later on in this race if it does come down to fuel strategy. Good run there down the back straightaway for Greg Palmer. Was trying to make something happen with Keith Bynum, Greg Lovell, and Kelly Causey. He's got himself alongside of Grant Wesley, at least for the 3rd position. The 63, the 880, and the 00, they've all been pretty dedicated to trying to make that outside line work, and they've made some steady progress, now up inside of the top 10. You can hear the idling engine up ahead. That's the 029 of Mike Mangialardi. There he is on the back straightaway, about half a stretch ahead of this lead pack.
Look at the Oldsmobile back there. I believe you said that's the Italian driver and the 880, I believe, on the inside.
That'd be correct.
I don't really see a lot of Oldsmobiles anymore. At
No,
least
you
not
don't.
that I can see. I hear the car catching the 29 or the 029. My bad.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That's a way to kind of pick out the difference between Daniel Dell and Mike Mangialardi, since they are the same sponsor and same coloration. One is a Ford and one is an
Well, they're not
Oldsmobile.
exactly the same.
Yeah, slight difference
The
in the
880
liveries.
has it's white on the bottom and orange on the hood.
Yeah.
The other one's orange all the way around on the hood and the front part.
It's kind of like the Grant Wesley Ken Roberts situation. They've got the similar colors, but
Speaking of Grant Wesley,
yeah, up the middle, going to look for the lead. You know, the cadence of the colors is similar, but if you
I told
take
you
long
you
enough to
cannot
study
keep
it,
Grant Wesley in the back.
well, Grant hasn't been in the back this race yet. Qualified in the top 5. He's led a lap and looking to lead a second one here is...
No, don't break the middle line.
Greg Palmer. I'm sorry, not Greg Palmer. That's Greg Lovell, rather. I think that was on purpose, though. I think Greg was trying to get down to the bottom because, as you said, these drivers, they're not that far away from making pit stops, so everybody's going to be abandoning that middle to outside line.
Well, it also depends on where the cars are that stayed out running right now.
True. Which I believe, if I can check here, yeah, your top 5 all didn't pit. The highest running driver that did come to pit road is Keith Bynum in the 63, who's leading that outside line.
Okay.
Update on drivers involved in that incident back on lap 1. Josh Metallic has brought his car to the garage area, as has Hank Middleton. So 3 drivers out of the race as they join John Godfrey. We saw Mike Mangialardi fall a lap down. He and Bob Dixon currently the only 2 drivers -1. The other remaining 33 drivers all on the lead lap, and at this point, all in this lead pack, still up to speed.
Side by side down the straightaway, Seth. We should be roughly about 4 to 5 laps. 4 to 5 laps away from pit stops.
So, interesting question here because Keith Bynum, Greg Lovell, and Rodney Sullins are the only drivers up inside of the top 10 right now that came to pit road under that caution period. There's only about, maybe 2-3 laps difference between how far they could go to how far the rest of the other drivers could go. Do you cut your losses, come down pit road with the rest of the field here on this green flag pit stop cycle, or do you stay out the extra couple of laps?
I'm sorry, say that again, Seth. I was a little birdie in my ear was talking to me. And
Oh, okay. I was just mentioning about the fact that we got a couple of drivers up inside the top 10 here that did pit under that caution period. We know that a lot of the drivers up here are going to be coming to pit road in the next 2 or 3 laps. So if you're any of those drivers that can go a little bit further here, do you cut your losses and pit with them, or do you go those extra couple of laps?
That's a tough question. I guess it really depends on the strategy you want to play at. I mean, you come into 20, if you could pit now on lap 24, that's going to give you what, another 19, 20 laps? So
yeah,
that's going to be 44 and then 64. You run those couple extra laps, Seth, you might be able to make it to the end.
And maybe...
Oh, no!
Wayne Pribb now
Wow.
was looking to merge up there in turn 1, and the field was right there. Oh! He almost got into somebody back there. I think we're still green. I think we're good. Might have been the 043 of Brian Lovell, our pole sitter, that he almost got into, as Tom Dixon's on pit road by himself there in the Batmobile. You can merge off of pit road.
Oh, here they come.
Exiting out of turn 1. So we got about almost a dozen drivers coming to pit road here.
That was a little earlier than I thought.
Spirito, Jeffries, Garrett, Shelton, Randy Waugh, Bob Seminara, Wiley Coate, Bernie Mobbs, Daniel Dell with this group, along with Brian Lovell. I think we'll see Grant Wesley in this time, along with Greg Palmer. Lovell and Bynum leading their respective lines might stay out an extra lap. It's like a lot more hands out the window here. That first group got to pit road without incident. Let's see about group number 2. Third of the way through this race when they come around here to complete lap 22.
Greg Lovell and them stay out. Ooh, here come the rest.
Looks like this group gets on. Up!
Oh, and the 6 got turned by Ulysses.
Brian Rawson with a bump from the 096.
Where was Zach Rogers during that? Oh, he's still up in the main pack here.
Here's the first group coming off of pit road, and they're going to get caught by the leaders here, who now have to slice and dice and snake their way through these drivers getting up to speed. Top 12, all drivers who pitted under the caution back on lap 1. So they were able to go a little bit further, and now a number of them are going to make the dive to pit road here. Oh, looks like Bernie Mobbs might have gotten tagged for speeding. This is his second time down pit road.
See, yeah, I just saw the 7 of Cy Jones get a little loose coming down onto pit road there. So
It's like
gonna
Billy
give
Elliser,
Spirito the lead.
Bill Elliser, Bob Dixon. No, I don't think so. I think the 63 and the 880 stayed out still. Yeah, along with the 000 and the 14.
Oh Lord, look at these guys just slicing and dicing here. Now they're going to the inside because this pack up here with Zach Rogers and them are going to be coming down pit road this time.
Graham McDonald in the 33. Kelly Causey in the 00 also yet to pit. So your top 6, the last drivers to come to pit lane under this cycle. Also the 41 of Denny Carroll. And they're all coming to pit road here together. This will complete the pit stop cycle. So a couple of incidents there. Not many.
Why you don't enter pit road side by side, especially when you have a late pit box and somebody has an early pit box.
That's the tough thing,
just
right?
Just about had a wreck right there between the 880 and one of the other cars back there that came down.
And see, that's a big reason why we had the contact between Ulysses Sandoval and Brian Rawson there with that second group came down pit road, because Brian Rawson had to woe up for a pit stall right near the entrance of pit lane since he qualified in the 39th slot. This is where the lead's going to cycle around to, I think.
I think we can usher Zach into the frame of not knowing how to hot pit.
Do you think so?
I think so. I think that should be the new gag since Mercurio doesn't run this series anymore, or Talladega Nights.
So you found your new guy to haggle in terms of the inability to hot pit.
Correct.
All right.
Here comes that pack, fully up to speed back there. Just look at the difference they're going to have. Whoa, one car dives below the yellow line back there to pass a car going slower.
That was Nofsker in the 088.
Not sure how the yellow line rule works in this. I forgot if there is one. I don't think there really is one, because we see a lot of people dive below it.
He had 2 tires below the yellow. I don't know if it's you can have 2 tires down there and not all 4. I don't know.
Guess we'll find out.
Ulysses Sandoval just brought his car down pit road and made the left-hand turn to the garage, so he'll be the 4th driver out of the race here tonight. Sandoval coming into this race 32nd in points. It's been a real struggling year for him. A couple of visits to the catch fence at Talladega this season.
Losing a couple limbs.
Yeah, more than a couple. He went from Ulysses Sexy Sandoval to Ulysses No Arm Sandoval to Ulysses No Limb Sandoval. And that was in the matter of 3 weeks.
This shows you how tough these tracks are for these competitors.
Shows you shouldn't have your forced feedback set to max.
That's true.
That is the 029 of Mike Mangialardi going another lap down. He'll now be -2. Bernie Mobbs did manage to stay on the lead lap at this point after having to come down pit road for the pass-through penalty. He is just now entering into turn 3 as the field thunders down the back straightaway. It's like slow stops as well for Greg Palmer in the 22, Cy Jones in the 7, Wayne Pribnow in the 44. They have all lost touch with the lead group, and there's also a second group of about 6 or 7 drivers that's running about 4.5 seconds behind the lead pack. But at the front, it's Grant Wesley in the 88. Johnny Garrett's led the most laps so far here tonight at 13. Brian Lovell, the pole sitter, led 4. Grant just led his 4th. 3 laps led for Greg Lovell, and 2 for Joe DeSpirito.
They're approaching the 31.
Gonna put him a lap down, which would slot him into a lucky dog position along with Bob Dixon. Oh, big hit in the wall for Wiley Coat in the 5. No yellow yet. Now the caution's out.
Yep, because he was still on the track sliding when the rest of this group came around.
Took a while there for the officials to throw that yellow. I was keeping my eye on the caution lights over in 3 and 4. They were still green. I wondered if maybe we were going to avoid the yellow flag flying, but not the case, as the 5 of Wiley Coat went straight right up into the outside wall, hard lick, after he was scored in 15th the last time by. Let's take a look and see what happened to him. Looks like it was Rodney Sullins, the car behind him. He had Greg Lovell and Keith Bynum below. Oh, a little bumper grab right there. He got to the right rear quarter panel of Brian Schilling, and then when he got into the back of him, the uneven bumpers projected the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes machine up and into the wall.
What you said? You think it was bumper grab?
It certainly looked like it. And that definitely was
Our friends, our fellow friends are broadcasting. I'm gonna pop in and say hi, courtesy of FRN.
From what I understand, Chris Pickett on the call tonight for JTN. Joe over in Japan. Wiley Coat definitely did take a hard lick into the outside wall. You can see visible damage on the hood of his machine. We'll see if he's going to be up to speed or not when we go back green. JT in our chat asked, does No Limb Sandoval sell boots and watches during the week? He might. On a street corner in Baltimore, Maryland. So working our second caution of the evening here. Nearing the halfway point of tonight's event. Bernie Mobbs stays out to lead a lap here. Or actually, correction, Bernie Mobbs is staying out because he has to pit the second time by as a lap machine. He and Bob Dixon, this is exactly the yellow they needed. They will be back on the lead lap when we have our upcoming restart. And we'll see who's going to cycle out back to the race lead. Looks like it might be Grant Wesley who won the battle off of pit road over Jeremy Jeffries. But we'll let that all sort out here under this caution period, and then we'll be back for the restarts. We're going to step aside for an FRN race break. Don't go anywhere. Coverage from Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway continues right after this. Lights out atop the pace car. Green flag will fly on lap 33, just at the halfway point here tonight in our 6th race of the season. You may have seen during that race break us kind of panning through the field. During this caution period, we ended up having an engine failure for the 28 of Mark Paglia. He had
And
already
apparently
retired before
Ulysses
we could get
Sandoval
back and
retired,
find him.
and apparently Ulysses Sandoval retired, and I didn't remember it when you told me 10 laps ago.
Yes, this is true. But that's a tough break there for Paglia. Another driver that was hovering around that 12th in the standings cut line. He was 15th in points coming into tonight. He was, I believe, 19 points below the 12th in the standings cut line. So, you know, if we bring up the point standings again here and we look at some of the drivers that are out of the race here this evening, obviously John Godfrey looking to gain points to get in the top 20 in the standings. He's going to finish dead last here tonight in 38th. Josh Metallic, who was right behind that cut line, 13th in points, out of the race, and now add Mark Paglia to that list. It's definitely going to make things interesting and maybe a little bit hectic for us in terms of trying to math it all together as to who's going to be in, who's going to be out, because I feel like with what these races last week, this week, potentially next week are setting us up for are a lot of drivers that are going to be relying on anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 4 points to be able to make their way into the top 12. And it also increases the number of drivers on the list of maybe must win by the time we come back here to BSR in 2 weeks' time.
So I was told by the little birdie in my ear, for this race specifically, it's very, very, very important for us to know not to pace the pass car.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, a couple of cars have already done that. Then again, they had to be able to get the lucky dog. That was Bernie Mobbs and Bob Dixon, the recipients of the free pass here under this caution period. So 33 drivers running, 32 of them on the lead lap as Grant Wesley took that inside line on the restart, jumped up in front of Jeremy Jeffries down the back straightaway, and now will lead the middle line through 3 and 4.
You know, this race turns on a very dramatic turn when you're listening to a specific song, but it gets slower and slower and sinking deeper into the pits of hell as it goes on.
You know what you should do? I won't do it on the broadcast, but as that song progresses to get slower and slower, you should hit that like slow-mo button and just have the field continually slowing down.
I should. All right, I'll do it right now.
A lot of movement in the...
And here they go at 5 miles an hour down the back straightaway. This looks like your ordinary highway cars going around the track.
Oh, that's my favorite Disney show, Highway Musical.
Highway Musical.
Double wide here around the 5th position, 3 wide further back in the pack. Billy Elliser got split 3 wide. Now he finds his way down behind Graham McDonald. Donnie Garrett kind of pinned down on the bottom there along with Bob Seminara. Trying to make something happen there. Denny Carroll, Brian Lovell trying to get up there to them. Jeff Crivello now going to lead the 3rd line with Terry Bombard. Couple of drivers here tonight.
I now have a very odd Thomas the Tank Engine just staring directly into my soul.
That sounds delightful. Couple of drivers here tonight. Even if they went to victory lane, it's too far. They could be. I don't know.
Hey, look, Seth. Look at this. Look in 5th and 6th. 5th, the 880 and 608.
88. There you go. That's got to be a spotter's nightmare. Except for the fact that they're different colored cars, but just the numbers.
As long as they're not dyslexic.
If you are dyslexic, press 69, 69, 69, 69. A few drivers in the field tonight, including that 880 of Greg Lovell.
Wow, you paused for a second to look at that, didn't you?
Maybe. But also the 14 of Zach Rogers, the 29 of Daniel Dell,
Man, look at that. Look at that ticker that we have on screen here for this race, man. It looks completely different than the last one that we used.
You know why? Because it's completely different from the last one we used.
All right, mission solved.
Yeah.
You know what's
Our
funny? On
colleague
face
Matthew Rodriguez took me through a very interesting crash test course, if you will, in coding, and a lot of testing took place in the last 48 hours to try and put together a little bit more visually pleasing ticker, if you will. This is just the beta version, though. This is just the test version. There is going to be a much more professional version from graphics designer Matt Muir in the future, but this is the beta, I guess you could call it here.
yeah.
One thing I like about it, though, is it features the sponsors of the series that allow us to be able to show you these races every Thursday night there. Ultimate Garage Floors, the Dixon Brothers, Sullen's Paint Designs, and 260 Motorsports, along with the server provider that allows these drivers to be able to race every single weeknight. Race LM Arena. It's been an interesting week in terms of race winners, too. Zach Rogers making his debut here tonight in the Tally Challenge. He made his debut in bare bones on Monday night at Gateway, went coast-to-coast pole to win for his first career RTG victory. There was some server issues Tuesday night, so Speed Freaks was not able to get underway, but then last night in the Speed Freak Truck Series, which I believe was at Pocono, Ronald Lucet piloted the number 62 home, with 5 laps led to pick up his first win on the season. So there's been a couple of surprise winners here this week. Could we be in for a surprise winner here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway? We'll have to wait and see.
We very well could.
I don't know. Who do you think up here would be a surprise winner, maybe? Randy
Uh,
Waugh
let's
right there
see.
in that,
Luigi?
yeah, maybe in that 7th, 8th position. Randy Waugh, very good at super speedway racing. We've seen him
Could
in
always
other
see
series
Jessica
here on this
Shelton get
channel,
that
but we've never
magic-
seen him take an RTG victory.
We could always see Jessica Shelton get that magical win. She's finished second like 4 times this season so
Well,
far.
here's the bad thing. Shelton has a victory in the Tally Challenge. It was a race that we didn't broadcast.
Right?
So maybe get her first win on a televised. Oh, big hit back there
Oh my lord.
off of
that's a
turn
big one.
2. Pribnow, Elliser, Glenn Harris. Caution out for the 3rd time. This caution going to come out outside of the fuel window for these drivers to be able to make it the rest of the way.
Or they're going to have to make at least one more
At least
stop,
one.
sorry.
Yep, this puts them, when they come around to take the caution here, they would be about 6 laps short of making it the rest of the way.
Well, you never know what could happen.
In super speedway racing, does anybody know what's going to happen? Lane Pribnow. It was great to see him back in the field here tonight. Apparently he's been working, I think he said in the chat he's been working second shifts, so it's been not been available to be able to run on Thursday nights. Great to see him back in the field here. There's Glenn Harris in the 8. Glenn coming into this race in the 21st position in points, so he's still mathematically in the conversation to get into a playoff spot. And Billy Elliser, 18th in points, gained 8 spots in the standings after last week's race at Talladega. But those were the 3 that I saw there that took some pretty good hits into the outside wall off of turn 2, as we'll go back and take a look at what happened. This was towards the rear of the lead pack.
Well, Seth, while you go back to take a look at what happened, I'm going to go use the commentator's room.
Okay. Bill Elliser in the Quaker State machine. Keith Bynum. Whoa, that was... Wow, that was weird looking. Bob Dixon gets a piece of it there, too. It didn't look like there was any contact between Elliser and Bynum, and then it didn't look like there was any contact between Elliser and Harris. Let's get an aerial view here, because maybe there was something like connection-wise on one of these drivers' ends that we aren't able to see on our end. It almost just looked like Elliser maybe made a move in reaction to the 63. I don't think there was contact. Look right here. Yeah, I don't think there was contact. The 10 checks up the 63, and then the 26 dives low to avoid running into the back of Bynum, and I think he then almost comes down into Brian Rawson, pulls the car back up to avoid hitting the 6, and that's what eventually leads to him getting up into the wall and eventually collecting up Harris and Pribnow. Let's get another angle here and see if that is indeed the case. I think he actually, it was to avoid a wreck and then to avoid a second wreck, and eventually he makes contact with the 8. Watch right here. There's the checkup. He pulls low, then pulls high. Maybe a little contact between him and the right rear of Brian Rawson, but it's hard to tell. But those were some pretty big shots taken into the wall for all three of those drivers. Pretty good hit with the right front of Bob Dixon. And again, much like it's been with the Aero 88 cars, since not always do we see visible damage, have to wait and see when these cars get up to speed, if indeed those drivers will be able to stay up in the lead pack and remain competitive or not. Mike Mangialardi was the only car off the lead lap -2 under this yellow, so he'll get one of those 2 laps back. He'll be at -1 when we go back green.
Your face is -1.
Well, it's a lot more than that. Brian Rawson going to lead a lap there. He'll come to pit road along with Elliser, Pribnow, and Mangialardi. Can turn the race lead over to the 24 of Joe DeSpirito.
Guess what I have, Seth?
Whatever it is, I'm sure you're probably not going to share it.
I have grapes.
Are they the ones you owe Nick?
Yep.
So Joe DeSpirito won the battle off of pit road. He qualified 16th. I'd love to know if he went with filling the tank up with fuel, or maybe he went with a can and a half to get the track position. I don't see why you would do that, but I don't know. It just kind of seems Grant.
Unless, think about it, unless you take our can and a half for track position, knowing that you're going to have to pit regardless, you know.
Yeah, but then you're banking that this thing's
race.
not going to go green the rest of the way.
Well, even if it does, everybody's got to pit.
Yeah, but you'd have to pit a lot sooner, though. And is there any guarantee that anybody else is going to come down pit road with you when you do?
Well, depends if you made some friends or not.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm asking here, and you know, we didn't see the race off of pit road, is DeSpirito qualified 16th, so he would have had a pit stall around the beginning of the midway portion of pit road. Grant was the leader when that caution came out, and he had the 5th pit stall. So I'm trying to figure out how the 24 would have won the battle off of pit road against the 88, but he could very well have done that with taking on 2 cans of fuel. We just didn't see the battle off of pit road, so I'm just doing some speculation here.
Always speculating, but never articulating.
Isn't it great that I articulate? You wouldn't have a clue what that's a reference to. Wait a minute.
No, I wouldn't.
24 was running low there. Wait, what is going on?
Lucky dog?
No, I'm just trying to... Oh. Look at that. Got some late divers there.
A couple cars coming in with topping off at 1
So,
to go.
I think I get it. I was wondering why the 088 pulled down to the inside when he's supposed to restart in 4th. I think he pulled down there as if he was going to indicate he was coming to pit road and may have faked out some drivers behind him. Because we hadn't yet taken the 1 to green, so they had doubled up maybe a little too early at that point in time. There's Mike Mangialardi getting his lap back. Lights go out.
Seth, I got a question for you. Among those late divers to top off is that little birdie in my ear.
I noticed.
We know that there is a way she can save those 2 laps on gas. if it goes green all the way to the end.
Yep. I believe
Pick up-
Brian Schilling, Chuck McClure, Zach Rogers, Graham McDonald, Wiley Coate, Glenn Harris were some of the others that also dove onto pit road for that little bit of added extra security in the gas tank.
Yes, James. I always eat and drink during the broadcasts.
What's the one driver that when they do like a guest driver in the Xfinity series that always is eating? Is it
He
Brian
says Mike.
Blaney? I think.
He says Michael doing his best. Al Michaels and Mike Joy eating during a broadcast. Well, listen, James. If you have grapes as good as these, knowing that you stole them from a friend a couple years ago in Tennessee, then you'll eat them too.
Jason Scheck, loving the custom numbers. Glad you like them, Jason.
Just quietly sneaking them, sneak stealing them.
You weren't sneak stealing them. You were, hey Nick, I want some grapes.
And then he just gave me the whole freaking bag.
Yep. All right. Going to be 22 laps to go when we go back green here. Joe DeSpirito and Jeremy Jeffries, a couple of former winners on the season. Your front row, Grant Wesley, Tim Nofsker, and Greg Lovell, your top five. A lot of 8s there in 3rd through 5th. A lot of 8s and 0s. Bob Seminara going to be 6th on this restart, followed by Randy Waugh, Chris Emery, Kelly Causey, and Donnie Garrett. Safe to say, if we end up having a caution come out in the next 5 laps, we'll probably have everybody coming back down pit road because they know they can make it on fuel. Or would we? I don't know. With the fact that we're about 2 or 3 laps short, depending on who pit at the 1 to green and who didn't, maybe you get one more caution period, and that's enough caution laps for you to save enough to get to the end.
Do that again?
If we get a caution here, even if you didn't come to pit road at the 1 to green, do you think you got enough pacing laps there to be able to save enough fuel to get the laps you were lacking here?
It's Charles Jackson. No, I'm just kidding. It's possible. You know, if you've got 2 laps, you got to try to save 2 laps at most, 2-3 laps, maybe to even really be considered good. And honestly, Seth, you can save at least 1.5 under green just by doing the strategy.
Yeah, especially since you got 20 plus laps, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a long enough run. But we talked about the fact that a lot of drivers approaching this race as a must-win, and amongst those would be drivers that have already won this season and pretty much locked themselves into the playoffs. 2 of them on the top side here in DeSpirito and Jeremy Jeffries. If they can go to victory lane for a second time here this season, that's a big hit!
Oh, and there we go.
And we got the Dixon brothers up and over, both Tom and Bob. Chuck McClure was in that, and a lot of others. Wiley Coate, Cy Jones.
Jessica Shelton, I know, was in it. She got a little bit of it. I don't know if she got a lot of damage. She's still sliding on the inside here.
Daniel Dell in the 29. There's Shelton.
Doesn't look like a lot of damage on that car.
I think Graham McDonald might have been involved in the 33. And that was a Dixon double right there with Bob and Tom both going up and over as the 45 kind of grabbed the 143.
Yeah, he was warping bad.
Who was? Which one?
The 29.
Oh, Daniel Dell?
The Hardys, yeah, he was warping really bad and then somehow warped up the track into Tom Dixon or the 45, and that was it.
Daniel Dell been running a clean race up until that point. Here's a look at it here. Yeah, you can see the 29 shimmying there, disappears, reappears, and then up into both Terry Bombard and Tom Dixon. Man, Bernie Mobbs, the seas parted for him. Shelton gets a hit there from the 6 of Brian Rawson.
Hold on. First of all,
Saw the 17 of Chuck McClure go up to the outside wall. It's the brand of choice tonight.
red soda.
Red soda. I had a red soda earlier on. And McClure got a bump from behind from Wiley Coates. Graham McDonald got into the 5 a little bit there. Oh, I thought somebody just plowed, but that was the pace car flying through. And I believe that my... Yep. All right, bear with us, folks. Looks like we've got a technical problem here.
What did you do?
The sim went down for me.
What went down?
The sim. So you'll have to let me know when I fall out.
Uh,
So I think with that being said, there will be a couple of drivers that will be missing from the
you fell.
ticker.
You fell.
Okay, thank you.
Hiccups.
You see, you hiccuped me out of the server. That's what happened.
I hiccuped you out of the server.
Your hiccups were too violent. The
What?
eating in the booth. Jason Scheck called it the Dante Ricky syndrome. No, that's not eating in the booth. That's eating before the race or immediately after the race.
Oh, JT says no on gas mileage.
Alright, so we are probably going to have a few names missing. Well, maybe not.
Hiccups.
We'll have to see. There might be a few names that'll be missing from the ticker here and on the finishing results. But we pretty much documented them during the course of this race. If you're just joining us out of the race, the cars of Mark Pagli, Ulysses Sandoval, Hank Middleton, Josh Metallic, John Godfrey, and recently added the 29 of Daniel Dell. Tough break there for him in his first start of his career in the Tally Challenge. Mike Mangialardi will get the free pass. He's going to be back on the lead lap now. And that will give us 32 drivers all on the lead lap, still in the hunt. If not necessarily for the victory, for a good finish here tonight. And that was kind of the running story last week, especially for just about everybody that finished inside of the top 10, was in some way or another, they all had to mount some kind of a comeback after facing some kind of an adversity. Didn't matter if it was a pit road incident, getting involved in an early wreck, what have you. Just about everybody had to kind of bounce back to get the finishes they did at the end of the night. So Bob Seminara, looks like he's going to inherit the race lead here. Chris Emery will line up to his outside. Emery picking up his first career victory a couple of weeks ago here at this very racetrack. Graham McDonald right now in the 3rd spot. He's just outside of that 12th in the standings cut line, which is currently in possession of your race leader, Bob Seminara. Joe DeSpirito going to restart in 4th, and Grant Wesley is going to complete the top 5. Waiting for scoring to update itself. If it doesn't update itself, we might have to, when they take the 1 to green here, we might have to just do a quick FRN race break, get everything reloaded back up. We'll wait till they cross the start finish line here, see if they do get everything working. Does not look like it's updating, so just bear with us here, folks. We're going to go into an FRN race break here, and when we come back, we should be at the 1 to green, and we should be good to go here for the finish. So don't go anywhere. Coverage continues in just a moment here on FRN. All right, we are back. We should be good to go here, hopefully, with our ticker system. And the restart is going to be with 16 laps to go. Seminara going to be the leader, Emery second, Graham McDonald in third, Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, the completion of the top 5, followed by Jeremy Jeffries, Tim Nofsker, Randy Waugh, Greg
Yeah.
Lovell, and Donnie Garrett. You're all going to see, I believe, 32 cars on your ticker. We ran down before that FRN race break and having to do the reset there of the drivers out of the race. They will not show up on our finishing results here tonight, unfortunately, due to the technical difficulties there moments ago. But we're back green flag racing here. And Emery, I don't know if he jumped that a little bit or if Seminara didn't get going, but he was able to clear across the nose of the 712 before they even got to turn 1.
Well, if it's a jump set, I'm sure they'll call it on him.
And that's happened before, where a driver has been called for a jump on a late race restart. I believe it was Donnie Garrett a couple of seasons ago.
Well,
Ended
Seth,
up having a win rescinded because he ended up jumping a late race restart.
I hate doing this, especially at the end of the race, but I've got an emergency I got to go deal with.
Alrighty. Well, we knew it was a possibility, so it's all good.
And it's not for the reason I think it is, or it was supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
All right, but I'll be. I don't know if I'll be back, but we'll see.
10-4. So Chris Emery leading that outside line. Graham McDonald with a big push, courtesy of Grant Wesley on that inside line. Emery sees the run coming. He'll jump down to the bottom. Chris Emery not afraid to throw blocks. He had some really good blocks that led to his victory here at BSR a few weeks ago. Now a third lane going to start to form. That is Randy Waugh up on the top along with Donnie Garrett, Rodney Sullins, and others. And that's going to stall out that middle line. We've seen that happen a lot here at this particular racetrack at Burnt Screwdrivers, where that middle line, that third line forms, and suddenly the middle line becomes the proverbial sucker hole. And it will give the advantage to that inside line. Seminara now going to lead the bottom. Randy Waugh will look to get alongside of him for the top position in that third lane. They got to keep that draft tight up in the third line. Otherwise, that third lane is also going to dissipate, and the inside line will gain a huge advantage with the shorter way around the racetrack. Are we safe from the trip to Wawa's in here? I hope not. I am a Wawa fan. I only wish they would make their way up here to New York. I think the closest one we have to us is opening up in New York City in 2025, and I'm not going all the way there just to go to a Wawa. Seminara now jumps up to the middle groove ahead of Randy Waugh. That third lane suddenly became the second lane. As Chris Emery, who was in that middle line, has dropped all the way back to around the 10th position. Joe DeSpirito's back outside the top 10 around 13th. Looks like both Tom and Bob Dixon badly damaged and off the pace. Mike Mangialardi, I think, just made a dive onto pit road. Cy Jones in danger of losing the lead pack as well. And Tim Nofsker just got spun by Greg Lovell, and this is going to be the big one, folks. Oh, a big hit late. Couple of big hits. As both the Dixon brothers came flying in, one got Nofsker, one got Wiley Coates. Looks like Wayne Pribb now pounded the inside Armco barrier based off of the trail that the tire marks left. And a big wreck here, closing in on 10 laps to go. And just like that, Tim Nofsker goes from running inside of the top 10 to more than likely out of this race. Wiley Coate is already retired out of the race after he got clobbered. I think it was by Bob Dixon. I think Tom Dixon was the one that got the 088. And it was a bump in the corner there. Greg Lovell turned Tim Nofsker as we go back and take a look at what happened. Nofsker 7th in points coming into this race. He's had an up and down season. He's had a good run here and then a DNF there. It was a couple of weeks ago he was running up inside, I think it was the top 3 or 4, and ended up getting involved in a late race wreck. At this one, he was running in the 6th position, and you'll see the 880 of Greg Lovell. He drives about a quarter to a half groove lower than Nofsker through that turn and gets into the left rear quarter panel of Tim Nofsker. And then watch right here as Nofsker comes back down the track. The 45 and the 143 come flying in. They double team him, and then it sends Bob Dixon up into Wiley Coate. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's 15 to go where it's race back. But with a race, or with a wreck like that over in 4, I'm surprised that the 143 and the 45 came in at such a high rate of speed. Especially with there being quite a bit of smoke lingering there. Greg Palmer got clipped. Kelly Causey, oh man, Causey got nailed by Wiley Coate. And they both went up into the catch fence. And then here comes the shot, bam! And then there's a hit from Dixon into Wiley Coate. Let's take a look at the hit that Wayne Pribnow had there into the inside wall. And then we'll take a more in-depth look at the contact between Wiley Coate and Kelly Causey. Pribnow was up on the outside line. Bernie Mobbs just ahead of him. Well, Pribnow gets hit from Jessica Shelton. And then who does he hit further up here then that sends him down to the inside? He gets into Bernie Mobbs. And that's a pretty good hit with the front end of his race car into that Armco barrier. There's no safer barrier down there, so any shot you're going to take with the front or the back end of the car is going to be pretty significant. Let's follow the 5 of Wiley Coate. And take a look at the hits that he had in this one. Up into Kelly Causey. Up and over, back on his wheels, and then after Bob Dixon gets into Tim Nofsker, all of a sudden, wham! Second incident that Wiley Coate's been involved here tonight. He had that bumper grab incident between himself and Brian Schilling over in turn 1 earlier on. That 5 car has taken one too many licks, and he's now back behind the wall. And a number of other drivers joining him as well. I think we had a total of 4 or 5 drivers already out of the race before we had to have the ticker reset. Now you can add in Bob Dixon, Tim Nofsker, Wiley Coate, and Tom Dixon to that list, leaving us with 28 drivers remaining. So fuel at this point will no longer be a concern. Everybody will more than likely only come to pit road for crash damage repair from this point out in order to keep their track position. Bob Seminara, that cut line driver, as I mentioned, 12th in the standing as you look at your points coming into tonight's. Would love to lock himself in, be worry-free of being around that playoff cut line with a victory this evening. Randy Wall going to be alongside of him in the 21. Randy 20th in points. A win would lock him in with where he's currently positioned in the standings. Graham McDonald just below the cut line, going to restart in 3rd place. And then Donnie Garrett 18th in points. Could lock himself in with a win. Driver that's kind of been a little under the radar tonight, but making his way up here when it matters most. How about Rodney Sullins in that 38? The Dale Sr. throwback on that Black Rifle Coffee Chevrolet. Going to restart in the 6th position here. Rodney did miss a week, so he finds himself coming into tonight 29th in points. He is a total of 19 points below the 20th in the standings cut line, and even further back, I believe it's 47 points below the 12th in the standings cut line. So he must be looking at this race maybe as a must-win situation. Brian Rawson in the 7th position. Good run for the 6 car here tonight. Ryan coming into this race currently 22nd in points. And Grant Wesley there in the 88. Last week, he led the most laps, came up 1 position short of the victory. Here tonight, he's led 13 laps, which is 2nd most, only to Donnie Garrett's 16. And hoping that maybe he can lead that final lap, as he's been close on numerous occasions here this season, just hasn't been able to close out the deal. Has been consistent, though. Your points leader coming tonight, 23 points over his nearest competitor in Brian Schilling. Definitely has been a race of attrition. Kind of get the feeling that might be the standard for the remaining races here in the regular season, considering the fact that we've had full fields, a lot of points on the table, a lot of really good drivers in the field. We've heard from drivers post-race about how important it is to get those victories and lock yourself in, because they've said, there's any single driver in the field can win. They've got the talent, they've got the experience to be able to go out there and win. So to get that victory and that golden ticket into the playoffs, that security is so important, because you may not necessarily want to rely on points and may not necessarily want to rely on luck when it comes to super speedway racing. But here we go. This restart's going to be with 8 laps remaining. We do not have any lap machines, so it looks like around lap 62 would be our point of no return. It's about 4 laps away from now. We'll see if they can get to the white flag, or maybe even the checkered flag, without the flagman having to wave the yellow once again. Green flag back in the air. Seminara with a great jump, but maybe too good of a jump. Neither lane got going, and depending on where the momentum is, both inside and middle line are going to have a big run on him down the back straightaway. He's going to have to choose which lane to cover. It's like he's going to stay to the bottom. Kind of box in Graham McDonald, force him to push him, along with Grant Wesley. Now he'll use that bump and that momentum to move up to the top side and cover the run of Randy Waugh. Graham McDonald got alongside of him, though. Can Seminara swing back around on the top side, or will Graham McDonald get enough of a shove from Grant Wesley to clear on the inside? Third line starting to form as the middle line dissipates. Randy Waugh going to jump up to the top. Seminara and Rodney Sullins will be stuck in the middle, and Graham McDonald will clear to the top position. Randy Waugh did not look steady there through 1 and 2, drifted almost all the way up to the wall, and that's going to kill the momentum of that third lane. Graham McDonald looking for his first career victory. Oh, Randy Waugh almost wrecked it there as he banged doors with, I think that was Denny Carroll. Great save by the 21 in that middle line, as they're not giving each other any room in the middle of this pack. Top 6 or 7 are clear on the bottom. McDonald to Wesley to Jeffries to Rawson to DeSpirito. That's your top 5. We already saw Chris Emery pick up his first career victory in the Tally Challenge a few weeks ago. Graham McDonald would love to be the second driver to do so here in Season 62, but he's going to have to hold off a couple of hungry drivers who have both kind of bandied about who's had the golden horseshoe in his car, Grant Wesley and Jeremy Jeffries. And that hasn't just been only in this series, that's been in series across the board in Bare Bones and Lightning Trucks and Speed Freaks as well. Denny Carroll now up here in the conversation in the 41. Denny 11th in points, just above that cut line, is now Grant Wesley to the right rear quarter panel and has help from Jeremy Jeffries. He'll go around the outside of Graham McDonald and look for the lead off of 2. Denny Carroll trying to force up the middle 3 wide. A lot of cars having to split there after the 41 was all sorts of sideways. Now Brian Rawson's got a big push from Joe DeSpirito in that middle line as Wesley and Jeffries go down to the bottom. Oh, in the back, nearly wrecking Keith Bynum after contact between himself and I think that was Glenn Harris. Another save, this time out of Keith Bynum, as we again avoid a yellow, and we will hit the line at the point of no return here. Next flag is going to end this race, and Brian Rawson, I believe, led that lap around the top. Rawson looking for his first career win in the series. Usual disclaimer. Oh, we got a wreck! Caution's out, so we're staying at the front. This is the race back to the proverbial checkered flag, and Rawson has a big push from Joe DeSpirito. He's going to clear to the lead. Can he hold him off here through 3 and 4 and all the way through the tri-oval? He'll jump to the bottom in front of Wesley. Rawson's going to have to make that bumper as big as he can. He's going to hug the bottom, force them to go around the long way. DeSpirito with a push from Seminara, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Brian Rawson is going to pick up his first career win in the Talladega Challenge Series under caution here tonight at Burt Screwdriver's Raceway. Second driver to do it this season in the series. Second driver to do it this week in RTG. Rogers got his first career win Monday night. And Rawson gets his first here this evening in the Tally Challenge. Rawson started this race from the 39th position, technically 37th if you don't count the commentator slots. So he almost pulled off the proverbial last to first challenge. But now everybody keep your fingers crossed that nothing mechanical goes wrong with this 6 car, because he's still got to make another 5+ miles here under pacing to come around and receive the checkered flag. We've seen some pretty lengthy burnouts here this season. Jeremy Jeffries, after winning the first race of the season as the defending champ. Chris Emery getting his first career win. Joe DeSpirito finally getting back to victory lane after he missed a couple of weeks. I can imagine this might end up going in the record books as the longest burnout potentially of the season. We'll have to wait and see, though, because they're just now receiving 2 laps to go. This race will indeed end under caution. Let's go back and see what it was that ended this race under yellow. It was towards the back of the pack. Looked like a couple of cars getting together. And it led to the race back to the caution. It's like maybe the 63 of Keith Bynum might have been involved in this one, along with the 26 of Billy Elliser. And this occurred over in 1 and 2, so there was a lot of racetrack still left to run to get back to the start-finish line. There you saw, it looked like maybe a little bit of checkup there with Palmer to Brian Lovell, and then Keith Bynum and Billy Elliser get together there and slide down to the infield grass. There was also apparently an issue for Kelly Causey in the 00. Looks like he may have lost the draft and made an unscheduled pit stop under green, but the caution allowed him to remain on the lead lap. Here's another look at the wreck that ended this race under yellow. Yeah, Sullins, Palmer, Lovell, Bynum, Ellis are all kind of checked up on that inside line. And then here was your race back to the stripe. And Brian Rawson, right here, he had a choice to make. He could have stayed up in that middle line with the momentum of Joe DeSpirito, but he decided, no, I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to block that run on the inside, not let anybody to my left. If they get up to my outside, all right, I'll worry about that when it happens, but I'm going to have them go the longer way around the racetrack through the tri-oval if they're going to get me at the line. And by a little more than half a car length, able to get Grant Wesley. Wesley going to finish second for the second straight week. And Brian Rawson came into this race 22nd in points. He gained 7 spots in the standings after last week at Talladega. This will propel him up into the top 20 in the point standings heading into next week, and he will be in a playoff position. He'll just have to maintain it between Talladega and our final return here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway for the regular season finale for his first appearance in the Tally Challenge postseason. Now, he is the number 6. We've seen him run a lot of Mark Martin throwbacks during the course of his Tally Challenge career. Fortunately, he did not pull a Mark Martin right there, taking the white flag and then bringing it to pit road. He is still out there to traverse these final 2.66 miles to pick up his first career checkered flag. Grant Wesley going to be second, and Joe DeSpirito will finish it in third. Those podium finishers will be talking to post-race in our FRN post-race wind-down. Jeremy Jeffries is going to bring it home in fourth. Seminara in fifth. That's a good run for him tonight, a well-needed run, being that cut line driver in points. This should move him out of the cut line spot and give him maybe a bit of a cushion back to that 12th in the standings. Graham McDonald going to finish in 6th, so he may move up into the top 12 with that run. Denny Carroll will finish in 8th. Or, I'm sorry, correction, I skipped over Donnie Garrett, who will finish in 7th. So 7th for the 77, triple sevens there. Denny Carroll will remain in the top 12 in points, so he'll get a top 10 in 8th. Jeff Crivello, good run in 9th. And Jessica Shelton, after getting involved in a late race wreck, going to bring it home in the top 10. So she'll stay up in the top 5 in the point standings, but I don't think anybody's going to gain any ground on Grant Wesley, the points leader, who's going to finish on the podium once again here tonight. Back-to-back second-place finishes in the last 2 weeks. Well, you can uncross your fingers now, everybody, because it's going to be official. Crossing the line for his first career win in the Talladega Challenge Series, Brian Rawson takes the checkered flag here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. And well, last week it was the feel-good victory for John Godfrey. Missed seeing him on track a couple of weeks after he had some health issues, and now another feel-good victory here with a first-time winner in Brian Rawson. And everybody wanted to be that one to spin out the winner here. Ooh, wait till the standings are official there, buddy. You don't want to get DQ'd. I think they're official. Rawson gonna bring it around here. Doesn't even do a complete lap around before coming to start finish line. He wanted to get there to do his burnouts right away. Brian Rawson, first burnouts in the Talladega Challenge Series. And we might be here a while, and rightfully so. Again, Brian Rawson started this race from the 37th position. And I'm not sure he knows where he's going right now. Brian Schilling and Donnie Garrett, almost with a little meeting of the minds there. Jeremy Jeffries is in the infield. as we take a look at the full finishing results from this one here tonight. We gave you your top 10. Chris Emery and Brian Schilling, a couple of former winners on the season, bring it home in 11th and 12th. 13th for Randy Waugh. Chuck McClure 14th. 15th for Greg Lovell. Rodney Sullins will finish in 16th. Terry Bombard, Greg Palmer, Glenn Harris, Cy Jones were your top 20. Zach Rogers in his first start of the season, first start of his career, 21st. Brian Lovell started on the pole, finishes 22nd. Wayne Pribnow, Bernie Mobbs, and Mike Mangialardi got back on the lead lap after being -2 in the early going. He'll complete the top 25. Billy Oser was the last driver to finish this race under power. Kelly Causey will finish out of the race in 27th, along with Keith Bynum, Bob Dixon, Tim Knopfsker, Wiley Coate, Tom Dixon, Josh Metallic. You see some names that are missing there. That was because we had the ticker reset. John Godfrey was one of those drivers that's the name missing, along with Ulysses Sandoval. Trying to remember who some of the other drivers were that retired out of the race earlier on. Daniel Dell in the 29 was one of them, along with Hank Middleton, and Mark Paglia had a mechanical issue. So as we head into our FRN post-race wind-down, we'll wait for point standings to be updated. We'll fill you in on what it looks like around that cut line area. Let's see if we can dial up our podium finishers here tonight. And let's kick things off with a former winner on the season, a driver who has made his way up into the top 20 in points and may have just made his way up into the top 12 in points here tonight. Let's get a hold of Joe DeSpirito.
User was moved
Hey,
to your
Joe, Seth
channel.
up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Hey, man, I got you.
I'll tell you what, a wild finish here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. You were up there in the conversation for this victory. Looked like it was kind of hard, at least up here in the booth, to figure out which line had the momentum. The bottom would get going, then the top would come back. You kind of were the difference maker in all of that in helping the 6, but at any point there, did you you had the 712 behind you, so did you think about maybe sticking out there 3 wide through the tri-oval, trying to get this 24 to victory lane for the second time this season?
I don't know. The third lane was not really fast all night. I didn't see much of a run at all tonight, so we just kind of stayed there and just needed another lap or so, and we might have gotten around the 6 there. And but caution came out, and Brian made a good move, getting low there in front of those guys, and congrats to him. I think that's his first RTG win.
Now, you came into this race tied for 15th. We already documented that you needed to get up into the top 20 after we talked to you in Victory Lane a few weeks ago. You succeeded in doing that. Now, here tonight, after this podium finish, more than likely looks like you're going to be up inside of the top 12. So was that the goal, get up there in the top 12? Because I know that depending on where you're positioned in the top 12 in the point stance, also garner some bonus points. Add that to the 5 bonus points for your checkered flag earlier on.
Yeah, I just wanted to get in the top 12. Looks like I'm sitting 11th now. So I think you get 3 points per position within the top 12. So I should get a little bit of a boost there. And, we've got a couple of races left, or 2 or 3 races left in the regular season. So, if I can climb up to, at least maybe, looks like 6th, 5th or 6th is, a possibility. If I get there and get some more bonus points and, just head into the playoffs after a slow start, build some momentum.
I want to talk about something you touched on just moments ago about it not feeling like the third line was really a viable option of moving to the front. This is going to be the racetrack where the playoffs are put together in 2 weeks. It's also going to be where the elimination races take place and ultimately where the season finale is going to be taking place. So, with that being said, what are some of the things you're kind of taking away from tonight's race in looking to apply, especially when the playoffs begin, in terms of what lane you choose, what type of moves you make?
Yeah, I mean, this track is always more racy and more exciting compared to the other track. You have a faster bottom lane here for whatever reason, um, and that seems to make the third line faster. But tonight, for whatever reason, it just wasn't. Whether it was the people that were in the third lane or whatever, it didn't seem to work out too much. But yeah, you just kind of got to take notes throughout the season. When you know whatever the season finale track is, you kind of take notes on what happened throughout the regular season and take that into the playoffs and remember that stuff. So yeah, I like BSR compared to Tally.
Well, definitely, if anything to go by with the finishes we've had here in the last couple of weeks at this racetrack, we're going to be in for a very interesting finale as well as those elimination races as we progress further through the season. But another great run for you here tonight. As you said, you've now moved yourself up into the top 12 in the point stands, continuing that upward climb after getting back into victory lane here in season 62. Congratulations on the great run. Hopefully, this is a sign of good things to come for the remaining two races, Joe. But before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, thanks. I want to thank RTG. I want to thank Josh for putting on doing a good job as an admin on Thursday nights, keeping everything straight. You guys at FRN, Seth, and I want to thank Race LM for sponsoring us this season. I want to thank my teammates at Mobs Motors and my sponsors at Old City Fly Shop, Able Reels. And I want to thank my usual people watching at home, my dad, my uncle Travis, Paul from Stuart Haas. I hope everything goes well with the situation there. LC, Dan, and all my work buddies. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
As Joe DeSpirito brings it home third place here tonight, continues to give himself some bonus points here as he'll try and continue to make his way up through the top 12 in the point stands with two races left in the regular season. Congratulations once again, the great run here tonight, Joe. Best of luck next week as we head back to Dega.
Thanks, Seth. Good night.
See
User
if we
was
can now
moved
get a
out of
hold of
your
the driver that
channel.
brings it home second place here this evening, your points leader, Grant Wesley.
User was
Hey,
moved to
Grant,
your
Seth here up
channel.
in the FRN booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, back-to-back second place finishes. The good news is you continue to pad your points lead with another solid outing. The bad news is it's still that one position short of what you were looking for. I just went back and looked back at lap 63. You made that move with Jeremy Jeffries, got around the outside of the 33, then made the call down to the bottom and had the 60 your outside. You did have a moment there where you could have moved up, but at that point, did you think the caution wasn't going to come out? It wasn't time to start blocking.
Well, honestly, I was kind of scared of that middle lane, especially being late in the race. I was already got stuck in the middle twice earlier in the race, and um, yeah, the bottom here is pretty strong. I figured if I got the right guys behind me on the bottom, I'd be good to go. I had the one car fast and tight to my back bumper, and he was pushing as hard as he could. Unfortunately, we just didn't have all the numbers bunched up like the middle lane did there late in the run. And, uh, you know, ultimately the six was able to get pushed out front and he moved down to the bottom. Very wise move on his behalf. A well earned win. Congratulations to Brian.
Now, I know that obviously there's two races left. There's still opportunity for you to get to victory lane, but the back-to-back second place finishes is it kind of the I don't know, I don't want to say the pain of not getting that checkered flag, but is it alleviated somewhat in being the points leader and knowing that you're continuing to build on that, because when the playoff points are paid out, regular season points winner ends up paying out just as much as if you took three checkered flags in the regular season.
Oh yeah, the regular season title is huge. That's definitely something I strive for. I've done an awesome job of gaining those points here. But yeah, frankly, I wish it was back to back wins, not back to back second places. It does sting, We're all racers here, and we all want to win every race. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen for me. But I'll just keep running like I have been running, and you put your name in a hat enough times, eventually it'll get drawn, right? So we'll keep doing what we're doing and hopefully get a win here soon.
It was interesting. I was talking moments ago with Despirito and asking if he thought about maybe making a three-wide move through the trioval there, coming to what was going to eventually be the race-ending caution. He said he wasn't sure if he felt all that confident in that third line we saw here tonight, and we've seen during the course of the races that we've had here at this particular racetrack where the third line takes a little bit of time to get going. When it does, it really stalls out the middle line. Despirito kind of coined it perfectly that this is maybe a little bit more racy of a super superspeedway than Talladega is. And this is the venue where pretty much everything's getting decided this season. The playoffs are going to be put together in 2 weeks when we take the checkered flag here. The elimination races are here. The championship ultimately is decided here at the end of the season. With that being said, have you been in the races so far this season taking some mental notes of kind of if you're in this situation, what you can do, especially when we get to playoff time?
Yeah, I refuse to believe that there's really that much difference between the two tracks. But yeah, Joe's right. I mean, for whatever reason, just the way it works out, this does seem to be the racier track. And you kind of keep that in mind. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely taking notes for playoff time. Whether there is a difference or not, the drivers certainly seem to drive the tracks differently. So, yeah, I definitely prefer the bottom here over the second or third lane. Uh, so yeah,
Well, another solid outing for you. You continue to grow that points gap. I believe it increased another 9 points here tonight, now 34 points over your nearest competitor, and still 2 more races to be able to work with to try and lock up that regular season championship title, carry those extra bonus points into the playoffs as well. And again, as well, still 2 more weeks to be able to try and get that one position better and get this 88 in victory lane. But Grant, before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
yeah. Just I want to thank the owners here, David Cannon, Sean Prime, the admins, Josh, Wiley, and Tim. I'd like to congratulate Brian Rawson on, I believe this is his first win here on Thursdays. I know that's a big deal. I'd like to thank FRN for taking time out for us and doing the broadcast. My teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Grant Wesley, second place here tonight under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. He'll look to carry this momentum into next week down the home stretch of the regular season as he continues to lead the regular season points. Congratulations on yet another solid outing here tonight, Grant, and best of luck next week at Dega.
Hey, thanks, guys.
User was moved
All right,
out of
let's
your
see
channel.
if we can cut into the celebration down in Victory Lane and talk to first-time winner Brian Rawson.
User was moved
Hey, Brian,
to your
set up here in
channel.
the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, this sim has come a long way with the different features we're able to have on broadcasting and everything, but the one thing I wish that we could have is a heart monitor on a driver during the point of a certain time of the race, because I would have loved to have had the heart monitor on you in those final closing stages coming around to that caution that eventually ended this race. You get your first career win here in the Talladega Challenge Series. What was the range of emotions going on there after the wreck happened, knowing the caution was coming out, having to keep them all at bay, and then eventually coming around and securing that checkered flag?
Man, it's all happiness, man. I've been back at this, I guess, a little over a year and a half, and hadn't had too many opportunities. This is definitely one of the hardest races to win. A lot of good drivers out here, so kind of got to count your blessings when you got an opportunity and hope you can just capitalize on it.
And you've been on a run of momentum as of late, too. Had that finish just outside of the top 10 last week, and that jumped you up 7 spots in the point standings. Now, after this one, it jumps you up even higher with the victory. You're locked at this point in time into the playoffs as your 14th in overall standings. Definitely a lot of good momentum down the home stretch. How do you think this puts you in a mindset in preparation now for the postseason?
I mean, it definitely puts me in a better place. I actually had a first good 3 races. I just first race and second race got caught up on the end. Really, third race lost third gear, but I've been running good. I just had bad luck, and I think it kind of turned around last week. So hopefully I can keep it going. I mean, I shoot for top tens. Consistency.
And how about the fact here tonight? We documented the fact that on the random qualifying draw, you were gridded up 39th. Had that pit stall way back towards the answer pit road. Actually had contact on that green flag pit stop cycle. Got spun out by the 096. So had to come back from that here tonight. Obviously, got a bit of a statement victory for you here tonight as well. Almost pulling off the last to first challenge.
Yeah, I usually start in the back, man. That's kind of my thing. I like it back there, and I was screaming on the radio of them in the very back, but I know everybody can't hear it. But it's all good. It worked out, and stuff happens. So
So you finally get that first big victory. You can check that off the list. We've still got 2 races until the regular season comes to a close. So you got to keep yourself above that 20th in standings cut line. What do you look for now here in these final 2 races of the regular season? Are you gonna be maybe a little bit more aggressive to try and get up there, maybe get a second victory? Are you looking at just consistency to keep yourself above that cut line, or is it going to be a kinda play it by ear here in these final 2 events?
I mean, definitely the goal is to win. That's why I'm here. But if that's not the case, I mean, definitely consistency as far as good finishes. To kind of keep track and keep pace with everybody. That's the best way to look at it. From where I'm coming from, consider I'm still in the top 10.
A lot of times in super speedway racing, especially in the closing stages, it comes down to the timing of the moves you make, and you made some really good decisions there on that final run to the caution flag. Kept everybody on your back bumper. Pick up the victory here tonight for your first career victory in the Talladega Challenge Series. I know you want to get back to your celebrating here this scene, but before we do, we're handing the microphone over to you for victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
I definitely want to take Tim Nosker for helping me get back in this. Me, Tim, and Shaq, we used to race probably, we're going back 17, 18 years ago, and I was out of it for a long time, and I kept bugging him. I finally sat down, got back in it, and he's been a lot of help, and I definitely want to thank Rodney Solons. He's been a tremendous help as well.
Well, Brian Rawson picks up his first career checkered flag here tonight in the RTG Talladega Challenge Series at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Another driver adding his name to the list of those that have locked themselves into this season's playoffs. Congratulations on a job well done here tonight, Brian. We'll let you get back to your celebrating, and best of luck here in these final 2 races in preparation for your first playoff berth.
Appreciate it, brother.
Brian Rawson becomes the
User
second
was moved out of
driver
your
to
channel.
capture his first career victory in the series this season, following up Chris Emery. He becomes the 6th different driver to go to victory lane in car number 6 here in season 62. And we've still got 2 more races left to go. I said it before, I will say it again. It will probably be the phrase I will say the most down the entirety of this regular season, maybe even into the playoffs. We are not starved for storylines here in this series on the Flatout Racing Network. Add another chapter to the storybook season here as Brian Rawson takes the checkered flag here tonight for career win number 1. Point standings are indeed in. Grant Wesley still holds the points lead over Brian Schilling. Jeremy Jeffries jumps up a couple of spots to 3rd. He's tied with 3rd with Jessica Shelton. Chris Emery drops a spot to 5th. Terry Bombard still up in the top 12 in 6th. Bob Seminara, after a great run tonight, he's going to jump up 5 spots to 7th. Denny Carroll up 3 spots to 8th. Chuck McClure, Bernie Mobbs, they're 9th and 10th. We talked with Joe DeSpirito, who brought it home in 3rd place tonight. He and Graham McDonald are tied right now for 11th, and that would be the 12 drivers that would get in on points. Brian Rawson, he'd get in via a victory right now as he is 14th in the point standings. And if you're wondering about the John Godfrey situation, the DNF tonight in last, he drops 5 spots in the standings to 29th in points. If my math is correct, he is a total of 30 points below the 20th in the standings cut line. He needs to get above that cut line for his victory last week to count towards a spot in the postseason. Still 2 races left to go in the regular season, so plenty of time to be able to do so. But we'll have to wait and see what happens next Thursday night when we head back to the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. Thank you all for joining us here this evening. Thanks to Michael Norman for joining me here. Unfortunately, we did have a prior warning that he might have to step away some portion during this race, but appreciate him sticking it out as long as he was able to here tonight. And once again, thanks to everybody for tuning into our coverage here of the 62nd season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the green flag flies at Talladega Superspeedway. We'll see you then. For Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. You've been watching another broadcast of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support and